Dubey sir, you can introduce Murali sir.
Okay. So good morning, friends. Our speaker this morning is Mr. Murali Menon. We all know him, so I need not introduce him. He is associated with the Study Center of the Valley School, Bangalore. And Mr. Menon has spoken before this group even earlier. First of all, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Murali Menon. And I also want to thank him for accepting our invitation, and he is with us and is going to talk to us. The theme on which Mr. Menon will be speaking to us is transformation and mutation. Once again, a very many thanks to you for being with us. And as you know, Murli ji, you can speak for as long as you want, maybe, but not more than an hour, so that we have about 20-25 minutes for people to make comments or ask questions. So the stage is on now. It's for Mr. Murali Menon to begin. Yes, Murali ji.
Thank you so much, Dubeji and all my friends. I would like to share some of my thoughts, and I really hope and wish to have a good dialogue with you all. Transformation and mutation is a sign of life. Every one of us is mutating and undergoing transformation. We may not be aware at all about this because it is happening at a very subtle level. I'm afraid now we are in a degenerative state. Mutations are happening at cellular level. Some of them are for the survival of the body. Some of them are happening because we are not living appropriately. All that is part of life and will continue. You and I have no role to play in that transformation and mutation. This is at one level. There is a transformation on another level, isn't it? Each one of us started as a single cell zygote. Our body started that way. By the time we were born, we are already multicellular organisms. And our body has transformed a lot as it is today. All that has happened slowly over a period of time. The body transforms in time. We are also living in time. Time is considered eternal. At least that's how I understand in this part of the world. You and I come and go, but the time continues. Day and night, which is time, always intrigued humanity. People were happy to be in the day and much afraid when it is dark. The sun, the moon, the stars, all were integral to day, night, and time, and are used in measurement of time by ancient humans. They did not do any corrections to day or night to suit their convenience. Like when the sun is rising, it is called day. When the sun is setting, it is night. It's as simple as that. And they lived probably with that rhythm. Did this electricity and the modern way completely knock us out of that circadian rhythm. Anyway, from those days, maybe the ancient Egyptians have developed the sundials. Now we have advanced digital gadgets measuring every movement accurately, which is time. Now we feel the need to be precise in defining time, whether it is a second, hour, day, or month. Now we have 365 days and 366 days in a year. All that is because we have brains functioning through thinking. The brain is part of body. It is ancient and evolved in time. Isn't it thinking also a movement of time? Isn't it a movement? Then definitely it is also time. Isn't thought and time only one aspect of living? The brain is one of the finest organs of the body. The brain is also the most protected part of the body. Even though we know very little about brain cells, and we live with brain. Is there a mutation required, possible in the brain? I thought of this topic, transformation and mutation, because today happened to be Makar Sankranti. The festival is dedicated to sun and is observed to mark a new beginning. The sun is starting Uttarayan, meaning movement or journey from southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. And we see this happening year after year. These movements and this consideration as Makar Sankranti all are based on observations and measurements. Very, very few know about these fascinating movements in the sky and the interpretations. But this is unknown to most people celebrating the festival. I have today Noor Muhammad from Gujarat. There is an international kite flying. They also see that there is a movement different in the wind direction today. That could be one of the reasons why they started kite festival. When I was in Rajghat, some of our students used to feel how this kite festival is not really good because they use the manja with a lot of glass, and which can really hurt a lot of animals, a lot of birds, even it can hurt human beings if they get stranded. Keep that apart. Most people are unknown why today is Makar Sankranti and all these observations and the movement of the sun. And it is something connected to time. So, are they all just influenced by something from the festival and participating? I think it is so. There are 12 Sankrantis in a year. Then why is this one so special? So I was talking to our class 12 children the other day. So when I talked about Sankranti, because in the school we were celebrating Sankranti on Friday, one boy said, "Sir, uncle, there is also another Sankranti called Karkatak Sankranti, which is not celebrated like Makar Sankranti." So why this is so special? This festival is celebrated all over India in various forms with great dedication, devotion, and fun. And most of these are directly or indirectly influenced by the ancient understanding of time, good and bad. Perhaps this is the only Hindu festival in India which is celebrated on exact date. It is based on the sun transmigrating to a new constellation. When the sun moves to a star in Makara or Capricorn constellation, Makar Sankranti begins. So there is exact time, they say, when Makar Sankranti begins. And as for my understanding, today 7 to 12:30 is Sankranti time. It's very interesting. But these facts are not interesting to majority of the people because the sun is seen in the day and the stars are in the night. So what are we talking about? It's really confusing for them. So many don't even think about these stars or why Makar Sankranti or why it happens. Most people don't know that constellations are made up of different stars. But all of them believe in astrology and zodiac. The zodiac sign is an image which can be easily conceptualized. And you can even identify with certain characteristics. And it's a big selling point for many magazines and publications nowadays. So, is there anything more significant to Sankranti, to Makar Sankranti, than just the celebration in a particular way? I am presently in Bangalore Valley School. Incidentally, on this day, today, lakhs of people are visiting a temple in a place called Gavipuram, 10 kilometers away from us. The word Gavi in Kannada means cave. The cave here is attributed to two rishis, Gautama and Bharadwaja of Vedic times. Vedic period is known for worshipping the sun. Actually, one part of the mantra I remember, it starts with Swasti Prajabhya Paripalayantam, but the last two lines are interesting. Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam. That means let the cow and the Brahmins be, protected. So today happened to be also a festival related to cows. Anyway, coming back to Gavipuram, the rishis in Vedic time were worshipping sun. The Gayatri mantra is an all-time favorite. So built in this natural cave in Gavipuram is a monolithic rock-cut temple dedicated to Shiva. It was built in 16th century AD by Kempegowda, the founder of Bengaluru. The temple is famous for the exact planning, allowing the sun rays to shine the shrine of the temple on this day. Lakhs of devotees come to this temple on this day. It's even telecast live by local television channels. The same day is also celebrated in all parts of the country. Millions take a dip in famous rivers, they feel that today being a new beginning, they have to wash away all their sins by taking that holy dip. There is also the biggest festival of the world, the spiritual festival, Kumbh Mela, happening once in 12 years. And Kumbh Mela bathing begins on Makar Sankranti. So why this is so special? That question is still interesting. Is there anything new in all these things? We are repeating this again and again and again. The traditional New Year is not Makar Sankranti. That is maybe 2 months later, Mesha Sankranti. That is celebrated again with different names in different parts of the country. That is more associated with the beginning of farming activities, seeing the new leaves in certain trees, and called with different names. In Kerala, we say Vishu. And also celebrations are of different kind. But I wonder why we have all these celebrations. Is there anything new? Many stick to these traditions. Some people do ask these questions, maybe like I'm asking this now, especially the youngsters. I think youngsters all over the world all the time asked questions and they have revolted. Most of the people who have moved into cities, urban areas, have forgotten all these traditions. For them, the 1st of January is a new year. And 1st of January somehow is the date internationally accepted now and followed based on calculations more precisely in the long term. So this 365, 366, the calendars came into picture by that. If it is so, why are we still with our almanacs? Aren't the worship of the sun and the moon continuing? Why this is happening? Is it that we are unable to understand the changes brought about in calendar with modern understanding and even some kind of convenience in calculating time, etc.? Now the time is, 12 hours a day and 12 hours in the night. So is it really required that way? Is it important? If it is important, then why can't we follow that? Why do we wait for the sun to come for a new day? I'm just asking some questions. Is it because we are unable to use the brain logically? Is it because we are unable to get out of habits? Is it because we are continuing with conflicting ideas and confusion? I'm just raising these questions. Is the cause for all these in the brain? The way the brain is functioning? And is that inevitably pointing to the need for a revival, a new beginning, a mutation in the brain? The moment you see, you hear, you feel anything as new, it is registered. It is quickly converted and stored by the brain as memory and past. Then you are not seeing the same thing again as new. And we are living in a stale environment. We get used to places, people, and what we do every day. Is that the reason, we are craving for festivals, celebrations, without really understanding? The reason is we are stale. Maybe the brain is functioning only through memories, which is recording, thought, and time. You see, just few days back, the 1st of January, celebrated entirely differently. Lots of fun and lots of freedom. You can do anything. It looks like that. And many youngsters, including some of our students, feel compelled to participate. They are also desiring to be part of such modern ways of celebration. Often it is opening into uses of addictive substances. And all adults, some of us, and many parents are worried. What is new in all these events? Why are they just spending the whole evenings and night in the name of New Year celebration? Having said all that, I do feel that there is a place for celebrations. In Valley School, the junior section celebrated Makar Sankranti on Friday. We did it on Friday because the children are not here today. They are in home. There was lots of fun. But isn't it that we have to be very careful? Is it that we need to be tentative and question what we are doing and why are we doing it? Everyone sees the changes in the seasons. If we are eager to name it and limit it to the words and knowledge, it is taking the same old traditional path. It becomes a ritual. The onset of spring is spectacular. I think we see the colors changing in Valley and coming to Holi. There is no need for color powder outside, but the whole environment is colorful. What will make us observant and sensitive to all this happening all the time? Why do we get used to things? Why is there a craving for something new? Is it that our brains are loaded with conflicting information? Aren't we changing to what we know? Is that a change at all? Isn't it a clinging to what we know all the time? Is knowledge the culprit? Our relationships are based on knowledge. Is knowledge in relationship the culprit? Are we ever quiet? Or are we completely overwhelmed with the knowledge? Isn't that demanding? Again, observation, watching our daily living. The brain is conditioned and the past is operating all the time, almost automatically. And we are helplessly aware of that. And we have just left it there. We may agree to this or disagree to all this. or some of this. Or we may say that there is no other way possible. Or we may say that there is a way out. Isn't that all stemming out of conditioned brain again? Then what is to be done? Is it that we need to transform to learn things differently? Or is it we need to learn to transform? Is it like the chicken or the egg question? Is this looking, learning, impossible? I think that very few are interested in asking, inquiring about transformation. And those few see the whole thing as a big challenge. And maybe thinking that lots of efforts required to make it possible. Today in West Bengal, it is celebrated as, connected to Bhagirath, who had brought Ganga. So is it like a Bhagirath Prayatna, this transformation? But all those who are seeking transformation go that way. The way mentioned in many, many sacred books, that today and the 6 following months are important for such seekers. Lots more elaborate details in many texts in this direction. All that is explanation, logical arguments, giving hope in time. It is even suggested that one should seek to die during Uttaraya. There's a famous legendary figure in Mahabharata, Bhishma, waited for Uttarayan to begin to leave his body. Because if you leave body during Uttarayan, there is no rebirth. Is this all because it is difficult to transform, attain liberation? Why so? Is it because we are still caught in the same mode of brain function through thoughts and time? Is that the limitation of the thought and time showing this as a difficulty? Is living in memory, thought, time, a tendency built in, we are born with, which grows into a well-set habit as we grow up? I would like to quote 3 lines from Letters to the School. Quote begins, "Human beings throughout the world have made the intellect one of the most important factors in our daily life. The ancient Hindus, the Egyptians, and the Greeks have all considered intellect the most important function in life. The Buddhists have given importance to it. In every university, college, and school throughout the world, whether under totalitarian regimes or in so-called democracies, intellect has played a dominant role. We mean by the intellect the capacity to understand, to discern, to choose, to weigh, as in all the technology of modern science. Isn't the essence of intellect the whole movement of thought? Quote ends. It's amazing that Kay had brought a very fresh outlook without quoting any tradition, without quoting any past, anything from the past. He is inviting us to see things afresh. Do you and me see the intellect as a whole movement of thought, which is time? Aren't we continuing to live with this thought, time, intellect dominating all our life? We see the challenges involved if we need to change. Is it that it is easy to continue in the area of the known? Is it that this living dominated by intellect needs to change? Is it that transformation? Intellect functions only through time and thought. Is it that thought and time has no role in time transformation? Now, when Krishnaji questions the tradition, some of us really feel, why is he doing that? Some of us feel that no, Krishnaji is also like one among the saint and blah, blah, blah. But I think Krishnaji is not against anybody. He's just pointing something entirely different. That our understanding, our living, based on thought and time, is stale. It's a cause of misery. It's a cause of concern for the entire humanity. And the modern day struggle for sustainable living, global warming, all that is just because of this living. So it has nothing to do with the individuals who lived then or now. Is it completely pointing to a need of transformation in the brain? Life energy, intelligence, aren't they different from the limited intellect and thought? Is it that transformation is here and now? Is it that giving time a mistake? Then is it possible to keep away all the past literature, practices, and seeking? Are we completely disregarding this possibility? of a mutation, transformation, because we are continuing through thought and time all our life. Is that the reason we are only interested in physical, social, and political changes? Is that the reason the religions are kept alive as they are, blindly, with their practices? Or also because without transformation, we really don't know what is a sane living? Isn't all the confusion, conflict in our consciousness, isn't it an urgency of change evident? Krishnaji maintained transformation is some kind of order in daily life, not something extraordinary out of this world. When one is not thinking clearly, rationally, be aware of it and change it, break it. Is a transformation and mutation possible?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Menon. I think you have very nicely put it and raised some very important questions. I'm sure we'll find answers. Yes, I think we have the first hand raised. Dr. Harshad Parekh. Please unmute yourself.
Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Murali. And you have gone very much into asking many questions why we celebrate the festivals and what is behind it. And do we really feel something new every day? So what I feel that our brain has evolved over the time from very simple life form to birds and animals and now human being. Many years ago, human beings were living with instinct for survival. But when the brain developed more, from instinct, we have come to intellect. And this intellect means language and science. And it has really made our life very comfortable. And we don't need to go to hunt every day for our survival. And we can live very comfortably, even in very cold climate. So intellect has helped us very much, but at the same time, the brain is not fully developed yet. And there is a possibility of going from intellect to intelligence, which can see everything very, very clearly, our thoughts and feelings and the damage which we are doing to the environment, to our own body, we are doing. And we are at that stage where we are doing a lot of harm, like eating meat or smoking and drinking and getting very angry and a lot of conflict in relationship, even within the family and between the countries. So intellect has been helpful, but also it has created this sense of I or me is more important, competition and all that. So there is a possibility of going from intellect to intelligence, but for that we will have to turn the direction because our life is mostly spent in learning about the outward universe in schools and college and university. But when we turn that attention, energy which we are giving to the outer world in science, and same energy which is directed inward, then there is a possibility of seeing exactly what is happening, how we are damaging our own body and mind. And for that, we need initially to be alone and give whole attention. And then there is it may happen that the energy which is used in conflicts and in money, getting money and all pleasures, the same energy can go to the brain, and the brain cells begin to change. And then what Krishnaji calls mutation of the brain cells. And then we feel newness every day in our life. And we can also see the dangers which are there for human beings. So it has to start with individual, because this is not a social or a political transformation which will help, but individually, what Krishnaji is saying is very, very important, and we have to give the full attention to look inward and see what are the things which we are doing which is not right. And then we come to a kind of a transformation of the brain, which will change the way we are doing everything, how we are speaking, how we are looking at a tree or a nature or a human being, how we are listening. It has to do everything what we do in our daily life. So this possibility, that transformation from intellect to intelligence, has not happened yet. And that is why we are creating wars and all the problems which we see in society. Thank you. I have said enough.
Thank you, Harshad Bhai. Yes, Dr. Pradeep Verma.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, Murali. You have given us a very nice topic, a lot of thinking, a lot of complications. You see, in your talk, important, very relevant question, are we still caught in thought and time? Are we disregarding all the possibilities in the present? Yeah, it's a very big yes to all, both. Now you see how we have utilized today's time of Makar Sankranti, where newness, a new thing, yeah, something new has to start, and how much past has colored this time in Makar Sankranti. We, all of us, have seen it. So it's a big yes that we are still caught, very much caught. Now the question is whether talking about transformation and mutation also comes in the category of thought, spread out in time differently, resulting in discussions ultimately. And you see, we were talking just about, even Harshad Bhai was talking about intellect and intelligence. So I'll just read out one by J.K. Thought, the knowing of thought and intelligence are all maintained by thought. The knowing of thought and intelligence are all maintained by thought. To say that thought must end and that intelligence must come into being is again an action of thought. As is the statement that the thinker and the thought are one. These are all thoughts. So my question is, because JK has put all important so-called mysterious things. Atman is the result of thought. Brahman, to which man looks up, is the result of thought. The man who experienced Brahman had nothing to do with thought. It just happened, you see. Then you can awaken all the Kundalinis, but to what purpose? Teaching how to awaken the Kundalinis or making a man proficient in archery in the Zen way or practicing the various forms of Tantra are all within the bondage of time, which is thought. I'm quoting this was part of the thing. So now the question is whether this is thought. We usually take a pair of words like this, transformation and mutation. The funniest part is that in such pairs, one cannot overrule the relationship between the two. And the subtleties that separate them is of no practical value to me. Then little bit of mutations, I will say. All mutations are based on energy. JK is talking about an absolute change in human psyche. He is not talking of structural or genetic mutations that can be induced by using high energy radiations, X-rays, gamma rays, or chemical mutagens, etc. That he brands as entropic energy. He is talking about biological energy that is non-entropic. He says when total energy, which usually gets dissipated through desire-based movements is available, then there is some sort of explosion that can lead to transformation. You see, balancing in another context, he said balancing of male and female energies is important to attain that equanimity in vision also. So it's definitely, it has become very complicated because we are trying to explain something which cannot be explained by anything known. So this is the problem. That's why this problem continues for years and years and years. For the last 40, 50 years, we are discussing the same things again and again in different forms. So my dilemma is why this so much of time is wasted in repeating certain things, all the time repeating. So this is what I think, mutations and that type of energy. Then we divide energy into biological energy and then physical energy and male energy, the female energy. The more we say that fragmentation always leads to conflict. But we go on fragmenting to explain something which is inexplainable. Thank you very much, sir. This is what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you very much, sir. Murali, would you like to comment on it, or should we go to the next question now?
We will continue listening to others, sir.
Okay, Mr. Rajendran, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Happy Shankranti, Magara Shankranti to all our friends here. It's very nice to see you, Murali, after a long time. I really miss those Thursday evening our Zoom meetings and the study center. Thank you. When I first wanted to reach Valley School Study Center, and you opened the doors for us. Thank you for that. Actually, this question is actually Harshad Parekh ji, and who has spent his most part of his life, dedicated his most part of his life to Krishnaji's teachings. So when he talks, I always listen very keenly. But today, he said something and that really confused me and disturbed me also. That is, he told the development of brain from it is developed from first the human had an instinct, then it developed into intellect, and now that has already happened. Now again one more development is there, that is from intellect to intelligence. This is totally confusing. When I listen to Krishnaji, we will not be able to understand what he says. We may not be able to understand the truth, see the truth he has seen. But it is not confusing. A Krishnaji's talks never confuse anybody. But interpreting Krishna teachings or their own seeing, that confuses sometimes. And because Krishnaji says, intelligence does not belong to any individual. It belongs to the whole humanity. The intelligence is outside our brain, your brain and body. So this Harshad Parekh Saab's statement that development, intellect to development intelligence is totally shocking to me. I need his further elaboration on this point. Thank you.
Yeah. May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yes. As long as we are living with intellect only, I don't think that we can be really silent and see everything clearly. But when this intelligence happens, if it really happens, then that intelligence can use intellect in a proper way. So intelligence is in a higher dimension than intellect. Intellect cannot lead to intelligence, but from intelligence, intellect can come, just like Krishna ji is speaking from intelligence, and whatever he says is mostly very logical, and he goes very step by step in a proper order. So from intelligence, order, intellect, goodness, everything comes from that. But the problem is that most human beings have not come to that dimension of intelligence, and so intellect is has become very harmful in our present humanity, and that is why this religious people, they are, or even Aurobindo, they are talking about a different kind of consciousness, which is not an ordinary human consciousness, which has so many problems like fear, anger, jealousy. So when there is a freedom from all that, when this intelligence comes, it cannot do anything harmful to oneself as well as to other human beings. And that is our need, is probably to go inward and come to a different dimension than thinking and feeling. And that what Krishna ji calls choiceless awareness. And that is what is the whole teachings are about, that awakening of intelligence. Krishna ji used to say, even in the school when he was coming to Rishi Valley, that he wanted to develop a new brain in the student and teachers. And that new brain means a different way of living, looking, listening. And but I feel that even in the school, most of the time is just goes in teaching the various subjects so that students can pass examination and they can go to the college and they can get job and they can earn money. And that is the emphasis. But in our school, even like if somebody has some problem like boredom or loneliness or attachment, there is not much discussion, dialogue happening in this school. And lots of activities are going on at a physical and intellectual level. But this dialogue, which requires looking inward in silence, that is the real problem. It is not happening. Okay, I have said enough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, may I say, may I ask, say something, sir?
Yes, please.
See, thank you, Harshad Parekh ji, for your explanation. Thank you for that. But intelligence, when Krishnaji says the intelligence does not belong to any individual, it is outside your brain and body. So just like a cosmic waves or something, it is outside. It is just surrounding us everywhere. Like love and compassion. He was also telling love and compassion is also, it does not belong to you, it is outside your body. So we are not accessing this intelligence because we always keep our brain busy with this and network of thought. We are not, even during sleep, that the brain is not freed from the thought. So we are not, when the thoughts find its own place and the right place and they keep quiet, and automatically the intelligence will act. So calling it as it may not calling it as a development. Actually, that is that confused me. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Mr. Ranjan, Krishna used to say that there is no intelligence without compassion. And he talked of a different way of thinking. And he said the schools have been created only for this. So what he talks to the people and what he does in the school, what he intends to do in the school, the content, I mean, the intent is same. There is no difference at all. Can we have other questions now? Prasad, sir. Sadgaru, would you like to say something, sir? Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. But I joined so late, I thought it would be guilty on my part if I intervene.
Okay. Okay.
But these two words, transformation and mutation, I don't know how Mr. Murali, I think he has explained. But for me, transformation is change. Mutation is something deeper. Mutation is almost physical or biological. There is a structural change in mutation. So that comes only when certain parameters are met, like thinker and a thought being one. It is only in such when there is a natural silence in the brain. It is only in those circumstances that mutation can occur, I think. Thank you, sir. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Sir, my personal views are, whatever we are talking of transformation and mutation, we are making another ideal of it. Actually, nobody knows what this transformation and mutation is, as spoken by the JK. Everything we are speaking is speculation. And the aim of spirituality is not transformation or mutation, whether traditionally or non-traditionally. The aim is to be in contact with the dimension which is beyond time. And then whatever happens is the creation. So in that creation, whatever happens, we do not know, as we have not gone through it. So we should not speak of anything which is a pure speculation. This is what my personal view. If we see personally, practically, JK remained JK after all this transformation. Whatever the teachings are, that's a creation. Ramana Maharshi remained the same. Practically, whatever he said was another kind of teaching. Sundari Nisargadatta Maharaj, or you name any saint. So basically, we do not know what is this mutation or transformation. Another thing, what Murali said about the festivals. It is very clear that it is Utsav basically. When we go through a life which is mechanical, then our ancestors have designed for these festivals for upward surge of the energy by creating external environments. Whether you see a new year or whether you see Makar Sankranti, you name it, or you see any this Navaratri, whenever there is a change of this period, such period, for to suit that period, they have designed up various festivals. So all rituals, if you go deep for that particular Utsav, they are designed for the external help required for to recoup the human system in that particular environment. So that is Utsav. So one has to understand this energy phenomena, how the energy works, particularly in this such in transition period. Then particularly you will be in a better position to understand all these Utsavs and all that. Even the rituals in our Maharashtrian tradition, they say Tilgur Gyan God God Bola. So whatever good is required or whatever the things are required which support the human system, those are the part of the rituals. So it is very clear whether this also covers the area, particular area. Whether you see the Maharashtra or you see the Bengal or you see for that particular area, whatever is required, they have covered in that particular system of this festival. So this is what my views are. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Verma.
Yes, sir. A small question, because I speak whatever I live and whatever I experience 24/7. So most of it is what I experienced already. In my living, in my reading, writing, thinking, relationships, how much is intellect and how much is intelligence, I still don't know. Honestly speaking, we talk and discuss as if this button is on, then intelligence comes up. This is there, then intelligence is not working. It's a mix. You see, how do you get insights? You may say that I am working, of course, brain, and there is a relationship. It's not that brain is exclusively only for factual memories. Psychology, the origin of psychology, and all those things, they're highly related, very much related things. So while talking, we definitely separate them out. You see, if someone is only 100% intellect, how can I know whether some person is 100% intellect or part of it is intelligence, and how much and when it awakens? It's in ever going, the self is changing every moment, every day. And we talk as if you can see a red filter, then it is this, and green, or this is this. So while discussion, whether discussion on intellect and intelligence and innocence and all those things is part of intellect or intelligence. You see, everything seems logical, the way we live, and to be attentive moment to moment in my life, that is the best part of it. And intelligence gets awakened if I am attentive, if I am impersonal, if I am seeing without having my personal agenda in that. So then only it is bound to be, because then everything is included. Everything is included in that. And nothing bad can happen through me. In which category intellect puts it, that's a different thing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I?
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, very interesting the way we are able to come together and go into this. And I feel it is very, very important. The words and the thoughts and the sharing, everything is coming from intellect in one way. But at the same time, intellect, the thoughts are just a small part of the brain. So nobody can say anything more than that. So Dinesh ji also asked a question. Transformation and mutation. I would like to ask a question on a lighter note to all of you. What would you call a man with no body and no nose? It's a question by a child. So be a child. Once again, I would like to ask the question. What do you call a man who has no body and no nose?
When he has no body, when he has no body, he has no nose also, isn't it?
That's it. The child did not think that nose is part of the body. The child felt head and body and arms are different. So it's a child's question. Parekh sir, what would you say?
No, the man, when we say that we know a man has a body and it has a mind also. But I would
No.
say, no.
Child,
Okay.
be a child.
Yeah.
Be a child and answer.
Okay.
So you give up. The child immediately answered, very simple, no body, nose.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if you listen to that,
Okay.
nobody knows.
Mhm.
And I think the virus is mutating. Coronavirus is in the headlines. It is creating havoc with each mutation. It can become more dangerous or sometime it may not. So mutation seems to be not in the realm of knowledge, for sure. But you can definitely see from the behavior that this is something different. So we need to really talk about this because, for example, our children are just asking questions. They're living. There is festivity around and they're interested only in festivity now. They just want to have fun. Sometime when you talk to some youngsters, they will open up something completely different and that will surprise you. What they are doing when they are just, going on some trip or some vacations or some fun partying, they are just ready to call you and you really don't know what they are doing. So what we are doing, why we are doing is much more relevant than whether you want to do it or not. So we need to constantly ask, among ourselves, with children, so is it really thought and time-based activity? And also Krishnaji talks about, you really don't know that we are not understanding what case speak about. We are not understanding what is happening in our daily life. We are not understanding what is happening in and around us because we are seeing everything through our past. If we continue this way and argue, justify, this is okay or this is not okay, that is a degenerative state. To me, Krishnaji said very beautifully two phrases. One is, intellect is the whole movement of thought, and whole movement of life is learning. If we are not learning now, if we are not learning the limitations of this thought time activity, we will just exist and we will perish. The virus have to mutate if it need to go on. There is a possibility even our brains to mutate, and the transformation is possible now. It is not to explain to anybody probably, but it is so essential. Are we seeing this as a need? Are we serious about it? I just thought of sharing this, sir. Sorry, Dinesh.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
may I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Yes, it seems to me that people who are highly intellectual and they have lived with intellect only, they will say that what is called intelligence is just a thought, they will say, and it is coming from intellect only. So they go in that loop, consider intellect to be the only thing which is available to human beings. But many people in the past and even in the present, they have gone through something different than intellect. Through silence, through meditation, through some way have come to a different state where they can see everything in a different way. And this cannot be explained in words. And Krishnaji has tried to explain that there is a different way of looking. And he is asking, can you look at the tree without any image, without knowledge? And then one boy who was very smart, he asked Krishnaji, can you look? And Krishnaji said, of course, otherwise I will not be asking such question. So there is a way of looking in which this knowledge, the intellect doesn't interfere. And that is a very fresh, new way of looking. And one can live that way. That means every day we can look at the same tree, but it appears new. And even at different times of the day, the tree is changing. So there is something different than intellect. It exists, but it is not yet come into human. The brain has not really transformed because of so many problems are there: fear, anger, jealousy, thinking, anxiety, and having no time to really be silent and look inward and find some clarity, order in the daily life. And then a person can say there is something, a new kind of brain. It is there. Our brain is not fully developed. Even the scientists also say that we are using only maybe 5 or 10% of our brain capacity. So there is a much the brain needs to come from intellect to intelligence. Otherwise, we cannot survive. As Murali sir said, that if we don't have that mutation, an intelligence, then intellect will take us to destruction. And it is happening. The wars are happening, nuclear war. And so there is, it's not that nobody knows about intelligence. It is there, and whether it is outside there or inside us, it is speculation. We don't know. But when all the problems, all the layers of ignorance goes away, then that intelligence begins to function in our daily life. And so whether it is outside or inside, is we cannot discuss that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare.
Murali sir, can I also speak on the lighter note that many times we repeat the words of JK like a parrot. We say that thought is a product of time. But if that is so, that is the only case, then by using the synthesis, we would not have been in a position to develop any new thing. If it would have been only the product of time. Number two, when it is a product, we say that it is a product of memory. When a memory arises, not only thought arises, but senses data also arises, feelings also arises, emotions also arises. So who is arising them, or how they are arising? What is the agency which is arising them? So we have to really go deep and understand the whole phenomena. And we say that intellect cannot reach to that intelligence. But is it that the case only?
Yes.
We have to really go into deep. Whether that intelligence, if that intelligence is there, is it not working through all these instruments? If we use the word instrument for them. Similarly, what was trying, JK was trying to do? He was, in my views, he was trying to show the limitations of your intellect, of thought. So when we understand the structure of mind, we understand the limitations of thought, then probably that thought may become silent, or it may end itself. It may not come. Then what remains? So I think we have to really go deep, and we cannot just say that this is only the product. The thought is the product of time. There are so many other things. What are the other aspects? Those also we have to see, isn't it, sir? What are your views?
Interesting. But briefly, I would like to share. See, Krishnaji is a master. He beautifully chose the words. He said the intellect is a narrow part of the brain. And he said the functioning of the intellect, whether it is desire, whether it is fear, there is connecting to the past. He asked, can you postpone that? Can you postpone the image which is making you desirous? He used in another time, sir, can the brain look at something fully, wholly, where it is not just looking at something through intellect? So to me, what the ancient people would have done without inventing time, they just kept the day as the sun arises. They kept the night as when the sun sets. It was simple for them. They felt that we are nobody to interfere with the nature there. Probably like Krishnaji said, the thought did not invent the tree, but the thought had invented the furniture made out of tree. We are more into that kind of an intellect and living. We are interested in the utilitarian aspect of everything. We are not really quiet. We are not really touching love, compassion, intelligence, just because of that. So, can we speak this more? Can we enter into dialogue? Because otherwise, the younger generation will be just caught in the utsav. The latest utsav, the new year, is frightening, sir. They are using all kinds of things to escape their worries without understanding the cause of the worry is the intellect. They are not touched by love because their parents are just beautiful. Adults around them are just, logical, and they are just giving advices. Where is love without mutation? I think it is important. We have to go deep. Over.
Thank you. Thank you, Murali. We'll have the last question or comment from Prasad Garu. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sir, everybody is intervening multiple times, so I am also tempted. Sir, for me, I mean, Professor Krishna once said, the Tamilian brain, Professor Krishna said, he said that Krishnaji was saying, the Tamilian brain is very complicated, very analytical, very subtle. And I think the Indian brain itself is like that, not simply the Tamilian brain. We are all highly analytical and all that. For me, living Krishnaji seems to be much more simpler than discussing Krishnaji. Because what he is saying is quite simple. Like, I was seeing a small video, a short video on YouTube. There he said 3 problems of Krishnaji. One, can you have freedom from knowledge? Second, can you have freedom from tradition as knowledge? Third, can you have freedom from this separative outlook? These 3 requirements are quite simple. If we are prepared to go with Krishnaji, they are not very complicated. Tradition, you can say no. Knowledge, we can say it's a limitations. He also talks of only the limitations of knowledge, not to throw it overboard. Not entirely. So these are all simple requirements. When you have this, he is an integrationist. We know that. He because he finds no role for religion, Orthodox religion, he has no problem with Christianity or Islam or anything like that. He is above all these things. And ultimately, he integrates at the level of the individual. He says, you must have that gulf between the thinker and the thought should be bridged. And the thinker is only the past. It is your background. So, with these simple parameters, can you look at a tree? I mean, you can look at a tree from day one without knowledge. But we are so proud of ourselves, egotistic. We bring in our knowledge, biological knowledge, etc. When you look at a flower also. When you see these requirements and these limitations on our part, etc., I think it is easier to live Krishnaji. You can look at yourself instead of reading. We read books. I read a lot of books. That's a different matter. But basically, you have to see yourselves in your relationships. In your relationships with your, he has clarified also, with people, with ideas, with nature. I mean, these are all simple requirements. Instead of discussing, and I find all of us are whipping ourselves. We are not striving sufficiently. We have to do this, we have to do that. We are a handful of guys here, and we are all interested in Krishnaji. At the same time, we whip ourselves, saying we are not striving enough. On striving, there is a small video, his discussion with Professor Baum. He says, you want to transform yourself, but who is the fellow who is trying to transform? It's the same old brain. You have a plan of action to transform yourself. But that is the same old brain trying to transform itself. So your effort is not required at all. And why are we whipping ourselves saying we are not trying sufficiently hard? Why? It has no meaning, really speaking. So, sir, my ultimate, he only says, observe yourselves. I observe myself, how I deal with my servant, how I deal with my boss, how I deal with a rich man, with a powerful man, how I cover before him. You see our MLAs touching the feet of your chief minister. This is our behavior. And you observe yourself on those lines, it is easier. Krishnaji becomes more understandable when you leave him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad Garu. Thank you. We have come to the close of the session now. So I want to thank Mr. Murali Menon once again for being with us. Thanks a lot, sir. And next week we'll have Mr. Santi Bogni. He's from Italy. And his lecture will be from 11:30 a.m. just to adjust to his timing. He will start at 11:30. And he's going to talk on climate change and mind change. So if you're free, please do join us. It will be an interesting talk. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dubeji.
Thank
Thanks
you.
to all participants.
Thank you.
Please close that.